All praises unto the Most High, Yahawah, power of Yasharahla. Salutations unto my brother, Yahawashi, and unto the angels and elders of heaven and earth, halalwayah, all praises. Question: did Jesus / Yahawashi do away with the laws of Moses? Let's find out. This is Matthew chapter 5 verse 17, and the context is the fulfillment of the law. Verse 17: do not imagine that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have come not to abolish, but to complete them. i.e., to bring to perfection. Yahawashi is speaking not of carrying into effect each single injunction of the old law, but of bestowing on that law a new and definitive form by raising it to a higher place through the spirit of the gospel. It is in this sense that no detail of the law is to be neglected. Each has its part to play in the unfolding of the divine plan. Verse 18: I tell you solemnly, till heaven and earth disappear, not one dot, not one little stroke shall disappear from the law until its purpose is achieved. Therefore, the man who infringes even one of the least of these commandments and teaches others to do the same will be considered the least in the kingdom of heaven. But the man who keeps them and teaches them will be considered great in the kingdom of heaven. So if you find yourself teaching that Yahawashi came to do away with the laws and you don't have to follow the laws again, you're wrong, you're off, and you're teaching a false doctrine. Let's prove this. He came to complete the commandments, finish the book, finish the commandments that his Father gave unto him. He is the Word. So he came to complete the Word. You understand? It's simple. It didn't mean he came to do away with it. The first book of the New Testament is telling you that Christ came to complete the law, not to do away with it. And the last book he's going to tell you to follow them. Now this is Revelation chapter 22 verse 12 to 14. And behold, I came quickly, and my reward is with me, to give every man according as his work shall be. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. Blessed are they that do his commandments, that they may have right to the tree of life, and may enter in through the gates into the city. So the only way to have right to the tree of life is to do his commandments. A lot of you are going to exegesis that and do your wickedness and say, oh, that meant the two new laws that he came to love. How do you love? How do I show you what is love? Because I'm sure it's not kissing and hugging you. I'm sure it's following the commandments and teaching you so you may better yourself. Because the most important thing in life according to Yahawah is to keep his laws and fear him. This is Revelation chapter 22 verse 14 from the Hidden Book. And it says, happy are those who will have washed their robes clean, so that they will have the right to feed on the tree of life and can come through the gates into the city. And he, God with them, will be their God, and God himself will be their God, and God himself will be with them. The Shekinah, or presence, is an essential part of Yahawah, God's covenant with his people. Exodus 25 and 8 and John 1 and 14. And is to be real and total after the end of the world. There's the corresponding verses. You may pause and write them down. Verse 15. These others must stay outside, dogs, fortune tellers, and fornicators, and murderers, and idolaters, and everyone of false speech and false life. A false life is living off balance. You're not living by balance and order. Yahawash, God, deals with order and balance. A lot of you people just want to do what you want to do, and that's it. And then you say that the ones who teach to keep the commandments, we're going off our own understanding, but yet you're the one who's going back to the same understanding that you left when you said you left the so-called ways of the world. How do you leave the ways of the world if the commandments are stuck on the tree or on the cross with Yahawashi when he died? What base do you have to say, okay then, this is how I'm sinning? It's simple. Let's find out. This is 1 John chapter 3 verse 1. Behold, what manner of love the Father hath bestowed upon us, that we should be called the sons of Yahawash. Therefore the world knoweth us not, because it knew him not. Verse 3. And every man that hath his hope in him purifieth himself, even as he is pure. Whosoever committeth sin transgresseth also the law, for sin is the transgression of the law. So the base that we have to know when we're going off, or to know when we're sinning or going against the Most High, is the laws. The laws tells us not to kill. The law tells us not to eat blood. The law tells us not to lay with mankind. The law tells us not to lay with a beast. The law tells us not to fornicate, not to commit adultery, not to covet. So how then, even the law tells us how to love our brothers. How? Like literally how? So how are you going to come and say, oh, love, right? But you're not using the law when the commandment says, and this is love. Right? When the Bible says that, and this is love, that you keep my commandments, right? Love is keeping the commandments and showing your brothers and sisters how to keep it. You can't just come with your mouth. That's what all of you like to do, come with mouth talk, sweet words. And Yahawash is going to destroy a lot of you for your sweet words and no action, because you're trying to get rid of all the action and just do what you want to do. I can prove from the Bible that Yahawashi didn't come to make any new commandments, and any commandment that he did give was from the beginning, and it was an old commandment. Let's prove this. This is verse 8. He that committeth sin is of the devil, for the devil sinned from the beginning. For this purpose the Son of Yahawashi was manifested, that he might destroy the works of the devil. So I'm going to say something right now, Israel. Anyone who tells you not to follow the Sabbath is of the devil. Like literally, they have now become gatekeepers, right? Anyone who tells you that don't follow the feast days, something that was stripped away from us. It wasn't like it was Yahawashi who told us not to do this anymore. We can prove throughout scripture that we did these things still, right? Anyone who tells you today, right, that you are not supposed to follow the laws is a gatekeeper, has become a gatekeeper, and has been infected by Hashatan. Do not trust these people. These people will lead you to doom. They will tell you to do what you want and act as you want because you're under grace. That's the Christianity doctrine. That's a lie. And a lot of Hebrew Israelites, especially women, have now started to push this doctrine. That's of the devil. That's of Hashatan. It says, he that committed sin is of the devil. Remember, the base, right, of knowing when you're going against God is to commit sin. And what is committing sin? The transgression of the laws. So you have to go against the laws to commit sin. So when someone tells you not to follow the Sabbath, that's the worst thing anyone could ever say out of their mouth as a Hebrew Israelite, to teach a next one that, yo, it's different when you're leading yourself astray. But when you want to lead a people with you too, you're trying to lead your brothers and your sisters with you down into that ditch, Yahawash is going to destroy y'all. You need to know what you're doing. This is serious. There's nowhere in the Bible where it says the laws are done away with. And I'm still yet to prove, that Yahawashi said that he didn't make any new laws. I'm going to prove that right now. This is 2 John chapter 1 verse 1. I am going to read from 1 to 6. Throughout the reading, I will call out letters and I will read understandings from those letters. I will put up, after I finish reading, a picture of those letters and the understandings and explanations that I have been reading at the end of verse 6. Please bear with me. This is 2 John chapter 1 verse 1. From the elder A. A says the elder were the leaders in each community. Titus chapter 1 verse 5. Here the titles refer to John the apostle, the outstanding leader of the communities of Asia Minor. My greetings to the lady, the chosen one, B. The chosen lady or sovereign lady, figurative reference to one of the local churches under the jurisdiction of the elder. Back to verse 1. And to her children, she whom I love in the truth, and I am not the only one, for so do all who have come to know the truth, because of the truth that lives in us and will be with us forever. In our life of truth and love, we shall have grace, mercy, and peace from Yahawah, God the Father, and from Yahawashi, the Son, Christ, of the Father. Verse 4, the context changes. The law of love. It has given me great joy to find that your children have been living the life of truth. C. And it says, walk in truth. Back to verse 4. As we were commanded by the Father, I am writing now, dear lady, not to give you a new commandment, but the one which we were given at the beginning, and to plead, let us love one another. Now, how do you show love? It's very simple. To love is to live according to his commandments. Now, this is verse 6 I'm reading. To love is to live according to his commandments. This is the commandment which you have heard since the beginning. D. You must obey that commandment as you learned it at the beginning. Back to verse 6. To live a life of love. So let me read verse 6 again. To love is to live according to his commandments. This is the commandment which you have heard since the beginning. Live a life of love. Salakia, to live a life of love. So, we must follow the commandments of the Most High God. This is how we know God. And we are never going to be perfect. We are always going to fall short. That does not mean that you're not supposed to try. So these are the letters and references that I was reading before when I was reading the verse and I was saying A, B, C, D. These are from the hidden book. So as I said, D, there it is. You must obey that commandment as you learned it at the beginning. You see what I'm saying? So these are what we need to understand. And if you carry on reading, you'll realize in the next verses further down, you will have E where it says your works. You understand? So C says walk in the truth. E says your works, and D says you must obey the commandment as you learned at the beginning. So I don't see how people don't get simple understanding from that. But the last scripture I'm going to drop right now is the Jeremiah to give full understanding, because a lot of you people are off and you don't understand that Jeremiah. But let me give understanding from the big book, not of your understanding or of mine, but from the scriptures. This is Jeremiah chapter 31, verse 31. And the context is the new covenant. It says Q. Q says, Jeremiah reaches its highest peak of spirituality. The old covenant has been violated. Ezekiel chapter 16 verse 59. And the attempted reform under Joshua has been short-lived. It is evident now that God Yahawah has other plans. A disaster will ensue, leaving only a remnant of the nation. Is Isaiah chapter 4 verse 3. And then an everlasting covenant will be made after that people, right? After Yahawah destroyed 2/3 of Israel, then that's when the new covenant is being placed. It's not here yet. So as I was saying, let's read. It says a covenant. I'm still reading Q now. I'm not even in the script yet. I'm still in Q, explaining what the new covenant means. Okay, and it says, Isaiah chapter 4 verse 3, and then an everlasting covenant will be made. A covenant as in the days of Noah. Isaiah chapter 54 verse 9 to 10. The former perspectives remain. Man's obedience to the law, it still remains. I don't see how you people can say it's not there anymore. You understand? But anyway, let's read. And the divine presence bestowing peace and material prosperity. Because we all know that we cannot just be saved by the law, right? We agree on that. But at the same time, it's still needed. But let's read. It says, Salak about that. Salak. Covenant violated and everlasting covenant, will be made. A covenant as in the days of Noah. Isaiah 54 verse 9 to 10. The former perspectives remain. Man's obedience to the law and the divine presence bestowing peace and material prosperity. Ezekiel chapter 36 to 29 to 30. This ideal being summed up in the formula: I will be your God and you shall be my people. Verse 33, verse 24 and 7. No, chapter 24 verse 7. Chapter 32 verse 38 is new in 3 respects. Salakia, but the covenant is new in 3 respects. So this is the 3 respects that the covenant is new in, right? Yahawah's spontaneous, number 1, Yahawah, God's spontaneous forgiveness of sin. Ezekiel chapter 36 verse 25 to 29. Psalms 51 verse 1 to 2 and jump to 7. Number 2, individual responsibility and retribution. Ezekiel chapter 14 verse 12. Number 3, interiorization of religion. The law is no longer to be a code regulating external activity, but an inspiration working on the heart of man. You understand? So when we're doing this, right, we're not supposed to be fighting with it. We're not supposed to be having stupid arguments over it. It's supposed to make us love each other and basically get to what Christ wanted us to be, which is one people, one body. You understand? So anyway, let's read. Regulating external activity. So, and then it says, the form, Salak. Inspiration working on man's heart under the influence of the Spirit of Yahawah who gives man a new heart. Ezekiel chapter 36 verse 26 to 27. Psalms 51 to 10. Capable of knowing Yahawah. Hosea chapter 2 verse 22. This new and external covenant proclaimed again by Ezekiel chapter 36 25 to 28 by the closing chapters of Isaiah chapter 55 and 3 and 59 and 21 and 61 and 8 and operative in Psalms 51 will be inaugurated by the sacrifice of Christ. Matthew chapter 26 verse 28, and the apostles will proclaim its fulfillment. 2 Corinthians chapter 3 verse 6, Romans chapter 11 verse 27, Hebrews chapter 8 verse 6 to 13 and verse 9, and chapter 9 verse 15, and 1 John chapter 5 and verse 20. Now let's read the verse, and it says, this is Jeremiah chapter 31 verse 31. See, the days are coming, it is Yahawah who speaks, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and the house of Judah, but not a covenant like the one I made with their ancestors on the day I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt. They broke that covenant of mine, so I had to show them who was master. It is Yahawah who speaks. No, this is the covenant I will make with the house of Israel when those days arrive. It is Yahawah who speaks. Deep within them I will plant my law, writing it on their hearts. Then I will be their God, and they shall be my people. There will be no further need for neighbor to try to teach neighbor, or brother to say to brother, learn to know Yahawah. No, they will all know me, the least, not less than the greatest. It is Yahawah who speaks, since I will forgive their iniquity and never call their sins to mind. Understand that, people? So, if you didn't get any of that, the new covenant is not here yet. It's not in place yet. He says it's in place when he destroys this old earth. That's when the new covenant will be written on our inward parts. Understand that, people. Stop trying to teach that the Most High is done away with the laws. That's wickedness, that's of the devil, and you are a gatekeeper, and the Most High will destroy you. Fact. All praises unto Yahawah, power of Yasharahla. Salutations unto my big brother Yahawashi, and unto the holy angels and elders of heaven and earth. Halalwayah. All praises unto the one who created the sun, the stars, the moon, the one who makes the mountains move and the oceans roar. Halalwayah. Sailor.